Dear students, good morning. First of all, wish you all a happy new year. I hope you all are in fine health and you have done your homework. So, as we had completed our syllabus before summer vacations, so now we are to start our revision. We will start our revision from chapter number 1, and that is Introduction to Political Science and State. In this chapter, we will study about the meaning of political science, scope of contemporary political science, uh, which covers political theory, comparative politics, international relations, public administration, and political economy. And we will also study about state and its elements. So, we will revise according to questions. First of all, I will discuss read the question, and then we will discuss about the answer of that question. So first question is, several political scientists hold the view that political science and politics are not same. Justify the given statement. So question is that political science and politics are not same. It means we are to discuss about difference between political science and politics. So the answer to this question is given on page 1.5. So first point is, politics is concerned with the day-to-day actual activities of the government, whereas political science seeks to study and explain the theory of fundamental principles, origin, nature, scope, and powers of state and government. It means that political science, it deals with only the theoretical concept of political science, that is state and government, whereas politics is concerned with day-to-day actual activities of the government. Second point is, political science means the actual behavior of politics, that is those political activities which actually take place in society. Against it, political science is that social science which studies state and government. So second point states that political science only deals with state and government, but in politics we study all those activities which actually take place in society. It means politics is practical concept, whereas political science is theoretical concept. This point is covered in third point also. Politics is a practical activity, whereas political science involves an academic exercise involving the study of state and government. Fourth point is, politics differ from state to state and within each state from time to time, but the principles of political science are universal. Politics in India and Britain is different, but the theory of political science is very similar in both the countries. This we had discussed in our class also, that at the time of independence, politics in India was different. Politics before 2014 was different, and after 2014 in India it is different. Politics is different in Punjab, it is different in Haryana. Okay, and it is different in India also and in Britain also, but the concepts of political science, for example liberty, equality, fraternity, justice, they are same in the whole world. Next is, whereas each one of us is involved in politics in one or the other way, political science is studied only by the students of this social discipline. Politicians are engaged in politics, whereas researchers, teachers, and students of political science study the state and government. We all are involved in politics one or the different way. Okay, for example, when you will be getting 18 years old, so then you will be casting your vote. Okay, so you will all be involved in politics, but You are the only students, means the students of political science who are studying this discipline. The students of science stream and commerce stream, they are not studying this subject. Okay, so but thus students of science and commerce, they will also be casting their right to vote. So each one of us is involved in politics in one or the other way, but political science is studied by only the students of this social discipline. So politicians are engaged in politics, whereas students, teachers and researchers, they are studying this political science. The difference between politics and political science is reflected by the fact that a politician can take part in politics without studying political science, and a student of political science may or may not take an active part in politics. Very often, a person having knowledge of political science fails to act successfully in politics. So, next difference between politics and political science is that all the politicians, they take part in politics without studying political science. Okay, there are instances when illiterate people are becoming leaders of our country. So politicians may or may not study political science, but and on the other hand, the students who are studying political science, they may not take part in politics. Okay, so it is also a fact that the students who have studied political science, they fail to act successfully in politics. So, these are the key differences between politics and political science. So, our first question is over here. So, next question is question number 2. According to Aristotle, state is an association of families and villages having for its end a happy and prosperous living, a self-sufficient existence. In the light of the given statement, discuss the elements that constitutes a state. So, this is the statement of Aristotle, and this is the statement of the question. We are to discuss the elements that constitutes a state. It means we are to study the elements of state. In this question, we are to write elements that constitutes a state. So, the answer to this question is on page number 1.22. So, when we are to attempt this question, first of all, we are to write the definition of state. Then we are to write the 4 elements of state. Then we are to explain those 4 elements. And then we are to conclude the answer. So, definition of state is given on page number 1.22. The word state has been derived from the Latin word status, which means a particular social position. Okay, so first we will write this statement, and then we will write about the elements. We will write there are 4 elements of the state. First element is population, second is territory, third is government, and fourth is sovereignty. So, now we will explain these points. First is population. State is a community of persons. It is a human political institution. Without a population, there can be no state. Population can be more or less, but it has to be there. There are states with very small populations like Switzerland, Canada, and others. And there are states like China and India and some others with very larger populations. So, what does this point say? It says that state is a human political institution. There can be no state without any population. Population has to be there. It may be very large population or it may be very small population. We are to write examples of the states which have very large populations, for example India and China, and we are also to write about the examples of state which have very smaller populations. Okay, the people of state are the citizens of the state. The people who are living in state, they are called citizens in the language of political science. They enjoy right and freedom as citizen as well as perform duties toward the state. So all the citizens, they are given some particular rights and they enjoy those rights and they perform several duties for the state. When citizens of another state are living in the territory of state, they are called aliens. So aliens कौन होते हैं? Aliens in the language of political science are those persons who are the citizens of some other country but are living in another country. Okay, so they are aliens. So यहाँ तक भी अगर हम अपना आंसर लिख दें इस पॉइंट को तो इट इज मोर देन सेल्फ सफिशिएंट. सो नेक्स्ट पॉइंट इज टेरिटरी. सो territory is explained on page number 1.24. Territory, it is the second essential element of state. So territory is the second element, population is the first element. State is a territorial unit or entity. Definite territory is its essential component. A state cannot exist in the air or at sea. It is essentially a territorial state. The size of territory of a state can be big or small. Nevertheless, it has to be definite and well-marked portion of territory. States like Russia, Canada, USA, India, China, Brazil, and some others are large-sized states, whereas Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Switzerland, Togo, Brunei, and several others are states with small territories. So this point states that like population, territory has to be there, but territory has to be definite. Size do not matter. The size of a state or territory of a state can be big or small, but it has to be there. We have to write examples of those states which have very big population, which have very big territories like Russia, Canada, China, India, and other countries which have very small territories like Nepal, Bhutan, Brunei. The whole territory of the state is under the sovereignty, that is the supreme power of state. All persons, organizations, associations, institutions, and places located within the territory are under the sovereign jurisdiction of the state. The state can regulate all these in all respects. So, the whole territory of the state is under the sovereignty of the state. What is sovereignty? It means the supreme power, and we will discuss in 4th point also. All the persons, all the groups, all the association, they are under the jurisdiction, means control of the supreme power of the state. So next point is, third element is government. Government is a political organization or machinery or agency or magistracy of the state through which the laws of the state are made, implemented, enforced, and adjudicated. It is the third essential element of the state. The state exercises its sovereign power through its government. This sometimes creates the impression that there is no difference between state and government. However, it must be clearly noted that government is just one element of the state. It is the agent or the working agency of the state. Sovereignty belongs to the state. The government uses it on the behalf of the state. So, the third element of state is government. It is the organization or machinery or agency which exercise the sovereign power of the state. So the government makes the laws, implement the laws, and also enforces the laws in the state. So they are also saying that it sometimes creates an impression that there is no difference between state and government, but we are to be clear that government is just one organ or element of the state. It is not the state, it is just enjoying the sovereign power of the state. Next is each government has three organs. So we all know that there are three organs of government. First is legislature, which formulates the will of the state, that is, which performs rule making functions. So legislature, the main function of legislature is to make laws. Second is executive, it enforces and implements the laws of the state, that is, performs the rule application functions. Third is judiciary, which applies the laws to specific cases and settle the dispute, that is, perform rule adjudication functions. Government as a whole is the instrument through which the sovereign power of the states get operationalized. So there are three organs of the government: legislature, it makes the laws; executive, it implements the laws; and third is judiciary, it applies the laws to specific cases and settle the disputes. So this is about government. Next, the most important element of the state is sovereignty. It is the most exclusive element of the state. It stands accepted as the most essential element because the state alone possesses sovereignty. Some institution existing in the state can have the first three elements but not sovereignty. State has the exclusive title and prerogative to exercise sovereignty over its people and territory. In fact, as Lasky opines, sovereignty provides the basis on which the state regulates all aspects of the life of the people who live on its territory. So, what is sovereignty? It is the most essential element of the state. It is the most exclusive element of the state. Without sovereignty, state cannot be there. There are some associations, organizations which may have the first three elements, like they may have population, they may have territory, they may have government, but if sovereignty is absent, the state cannot be there. Okay, if sovereignty is there, state is always there. Sovereignty means supreme power of the state. It has two dimensions: internal sovereignty and external sovereignty. So sovereignty is the supreme power of the state. It is further divided into two dimensions: internal sovereignty and external sovereignty. What is internal sovereignty? Internal sovereignty means the power of the state to make laws in the state over the whole people of the state. And what is external sovereignty? External sovereignty means power of the state to make relations with the other nations of the state of the world. Okay, so these are the four elements of the state. At the end, we will conclude this statement. We will conclude this answer. We will write that state has four elements. First is population, second territory, third government, fourth sovereignty. Sovereignty is the most exclusive element of the state. Without sovereignty, state cannot exist. So thus we will conclude our answer. So dear students, today we have discussed two long questions. First is we discussed about difference between politics and political science, and second we discussed about the elements that constitutes a state. So your homework for today will be, you will all be learning these two questions. Firstly, you will be learning the difference between politics and political science. Secondly, you will be learning about the elements that constitutes a state. So these are two long questions. You will in the second question, you are to write the definition of state, four elements, then you are to explain those four elements, and you are to conclude the answer also. So Please let me know about your learning work within stipulated time. Thank you so much, dear students. Have a nice day.